Hi everyone, Mike here with the instructional design team at Delta Services. Have you thought about using OER resources in your class? Maybe you feel a little intimidated by how to bring them in or what you should do with them or even where you should find them. Well, we're making this quick video just to show you what some of your colleagues are doing in the classroom and how to bring those things in. Three things we're going to help you with. Number one, we're going to help you find resources. Number two, we're going to show you how you can chunk those resources. And number three, we're going to show you how to attribute to those resources. All right, so let's get right into it. Here, you'll see I'm in a class. And in this class, there are a couple different ways I can find OER resources. They are out there on the internet. LibreText is one of those, but they're also right here in Canvas. So let's find the ones that are easiest to find here in Canvas first. To do that, I'm going to go to my red index here and I'm going to go down to Commons. Once I click on that, it'll bring open all of the things that are in Canvas, right? So I'm going to go to this search bar and I'm going to click in there and type OER. Once I do that, it'll bring up several different things. None of these really apply to what I need. I need a textbook. So I'm going to go further down the page until I see something that looks like textbooks. And here we go. Here are some textbooks right here. So all I need to do is go to one of these, select let's say I need US history. I'll select US history 1, and then it'll bring up the textbook. I can import and download that into my one class. Remember, we never use the all, because if you've ever collaborated with another faculty member, you're going to send this to their classroom. Not only does it put the textbook into someone else's class, but it also changes the picture, the default picture for the icon for the class. So you definitely don't want to get that mad email, okay? So we're going to select the class that I'm working in. Today I'm working in the project demo here. So I'm going to import that into the course. Now it put me back in here. That means it's already going. So it's already importing that for me. I just need to go back to the dashboard here in the red index and go back to my class. So I've clicked on that. I'm going to go into the class here. You'll see it's changed the picture here, right? So you can change this picture. We're going to go into the class itself in order to do that. And then you'll go over here to this index, the blue index. We'll go down to settings. Once we're in settings, here we're going to choose a different image. We're going to just choose one that is here and available. Again, you can make this anything you like. I'm going to select that. And I am going to update those course materials. Okay, and now you see the picture has changed. All right, so I've changed that. Where do I find my textbook that I brought into my class? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go to this blue index and I'm going to go to modules, because it should have brought that textbook to the very bottom of my modules. Here, I recently just built this module. And here you can see the textbook that I brought in. A textbook is indicated by the green line that runs down this page. Anything that has a green line next to it is brought in from that textbook. They'll give you a lot of information, how to use the sample course shell. What do you do if you've got to integrate some of your current course content? All those kinds of things you can find in each of those textbooks. But right now I'm just interested in finding it. So this is how I found this one and brought it into the class. Now, I had mentioned LibreText. Those can be found on the internet. So here I'm on a web browser. I'm in my classroom. Here I'm on a different web browser and I've gone to LibreText. So I found a textbook here that I like. And you can do that by going in. You can find you can go to their home. You can select off their bookshelves. What I recommend that you do is definitely go over here and go to resources. And then you can select out of here. If it's in the right area, you can select resources. You can also go to contents, libraries, community, and tools, but you can find your textbook that way, all right? And then you can download those. Now, to download this one, it's a little different. So let me go back to the book that I had open. For this one, I always recommend that you don't download the entire book. unless you're going to do it as a zip file where it pieces out each section. The reason for that is that you don't want to create a situation where students are having to go hunt and find material, right? You want to bring specific material right into the classroom, right at the point of need. That way students don't get frustrated when they're out there looking through all this stuff and suddenly it's squirrel and they're off watching, cats jumping across crazy fences or avoiding dogs. All right, so the next module that we'll work on is how to integrate that and how to chunk it. Thanks so much. So we've done a couple of things. We've helped you find resources in Canvas. We've also helped you find resources using something called LibreText. There are multiple things that you can do to find those textbooks and bring them into your class. Now, let's talk about chunking and how to use those in the class. So it's a little different when you're using resources that are in Canvas as opposed to a PDF that's maybe outside of Canvas. If we're using the Canvas tools, what we have, and you can see here, I'm in my modules, I'm in a module that I'm building right now. And you can see I've already created what I want to have in here. If I'm using a textbook, again, it has this green line next to it, and I'm going to go down to one of the actual chapters, and I'm going to use it for building this first module. So what I would do is I'm going to move this module by clicking the three-dot menu and then move module. It'll automatically select at the top, and I'm going to click move. It should move me up to the top with it. Then I can take pieces of this. Remember, it's in sections, not the entire chapter, but each section I can pull down into my module. So let's say I've got a start here lecture, and then I want to include resources. Well, I can pull each of those resources. Let's say I don't need everything. Let's say I need the Americas, and I also need to talk about West Africa and the role of slavery. And those are going to be my first module. That's all I need from this chapter. So I pull those in. That's one way that I can chunk this. So I can pull exactly the pieces that I want into this module without putting a bunch of extraneous stuff. Now, when the students are in this, like let's click on this and go in, students going to be able to read down through this. And then when they hit next, they go right into the next section of material that I want. When they hit next again, they move right into the discussion prompt. So now I've given them the information, I've chunked it up into just certain sections. Now I'm going to ask them, all right, what are the things that you read about? Critically analyze it, compare, contrast. Look at your fellow students' posts. What is it going to be like for the responses? Well, I could tell them, I want to see 250-word response for your initial post. And then I want to see a substantial post to another student where you compare your ideas or maybe help fill in some of the gaps that you see missing. All right, so there we've got it. That is one way to bring it in from Canvas. Now, what do I do if I don't have the material in Canvas as an OpenStax book? Well, that's fine too. What I would do is I would bring in that PDF. And we talk about LibreText, so we're going to use that example again. We're going to go into a different web browser where I pulled open a book. Now, here you see the entire book, and I know it's tempting to download the entire PDF and just say, hey, here's the whole textbook. I'm going to give it to you students to use, and you can just go in there and pull anything you want. However, that does a couple things to the students. First, they're limited in time for searching through stuff, right? You want them to be efficient. You really want to give them the information that they need to make the learning artifacts that you want to see for the class and that demonstrate their learning. So what we would do in this case is you found the book, now go into the section, right? Here we're in an education class and we're going to go into this one, developmentally, culturally, and linguistically appropriate classroom environments, materials, and approaches. When I click on that, now I'm into the chapter, and again, I've got those sections, which is perfect. I want to use this section, the role of diversity in early childhood programs across the globe. When I click on that, now it's going to be different in each OER resource but this is just a basic structure of how you would find it. Now you can download this PDF, right? Again, it gives you the option for full book. I do not recommend that. Don't give students that. It's too much to look at, right? I would download the page. So we can download that page. And then I'm going to, while it opens it up, it hasn't actually downloaded it to my classroom. So I'm going to move this here so you can see there's a download button here. I'm going to click that download button, and then I'm going to stick it in my downloads folder. And I'm going to create a new folder for it. And it's going to be LibreText. This is going to be my diversity chapters. Okay, and then I put my date always in there, 12/14. All right, and once I create that, now I can download that chapter, that section to that chapter. And I'm going to hit save. All right, now it's in there. All right, now what do I do if I want to download more than that? Like, let's say a lot of this book actually relates to it. Well, I've opened this page here. I'm going to go ahead and close that and go back to the book. Here I'm back at the LibreText site. I've got my book open. I'm in this section, right? But let's say that I want to download more than just that. Let's move my picture out of the way. Let's say that I want to download all of the little subsections, because that's going to be my best bet if I have multiple things I want to use out of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into the book itself right here. And then right next to PDF, there's a little box that says downloads. Now this is the Mike special. I tell you what, 2 for 1. I'm telling you, this is the best way to do it. Come down here and go into an individual zip folder. What that's going to do is it's not going to give you one huge PDF. It's going to give you multiple little PDFs with all of those subsections that you can pick and choose, and it compresses them down. So I'm going to click on that. It's downloaded it here, right? So let's go ahead and open that up. And let's see what happened with it. All right, so, okay. Now, each of these PDFs I can use, but I can't just copy and paste from the PDF into my classroom. And I'll show you why. Like, let's select this one right here. We're going to open it up and it gives us this, it looks like nice text, right? So let's open up the classroom. And I'm going to show you what it looks like if I try and copy and paste out of a PDF. All right. So here I've got my class. I'm going to select edit. I'm going to open this up so I've got more real estate there. And I'm going to go right down to the section I created called resources. Here, if I copy and paste out of this area in my PDF, it looks like it would be okay, right? I'm just going to copy that and then I'm going to Control V.
But what happens? Do you see that these weird breaks in the page happened right here and here and here? That's something we call orphan control. That means that it's gotten lost. You know, it doesn't have its relation back to the sentence before it. And I would have to go back and start correcting all this. Who wants to do all that work? So there's a workaround for that, and it's this. Instead of just opening up my folder here, first of all, let's go ahead and get rid of this, because that's no good for us. That's a lot of work. What I would do is, instead of just opening my document in a PDF, even though it is a PDF, I would right click on it and I would open with, and then select Microsoft Word. If Microsoft Word isn't here, you can always select Other and search for Microsoft Word. What happens with a PDF is when it opens it up, it's going to convert it. And it's going to convert it into something that's a little more friendly with my classroom. So here, I've now got the same material, but when I copy it, Control or Command C it, and then Control V it, oh, look at that. Now it looks good. Now let's open it up. And you can see it doesn't have any weird orphan control. So that's the way that I would chunk material. I would literally just pull open my PDFs, each in the Microsoft Word document. I would pull the specific areas that I need from those and then place them into my classroom. Now, let's say that I need one of the graphics, or I feel like this picture that they've included has a really good, like this is showing diversity in early childhood education. I'm like, yeah, I want to use that. Well, I'm unable to copy and paste this, even though I would like to. When I click on it, you see it's clicked. I'm going to copy. I'm going to come over here to my resources. I'm going to try and paste it, but that it doesn't work, right? So how do I do that? Well, for me, what I do is I have something called Snagit on my computer. It's a free program. You can get it. You can take little screenshots off your computer. So what I do is I open up Snagit. It'll come up here, and then I'll hit capture, and then I'll tell it I want to take a picture. And what I do is I take a full picture of what's in the textbook, and it'll save it into here. Okay, now I can't just copy and paste this. I actually have to save it as an image, right? So I'm gonna call this my LibreText image 1, and then I'm going to put it in my download folder. Let's go ahead and save that. All right. So now I've captured this, and this is the quickest workaround that I've found to bring images or other graphics in. So I'm going to close this, and then here in the classroom where I want to place it, I'm going to give it a space right there. And then I'm going to go here and I'm going to insert that picture. Okay. And I'm going to upload the image because remember, it's in my downloads folder. Here, I'm going to click on the rocket ship square. So I click once, and then it brings me here. And I'm going to go to my downloads, and there's the image I want. So I'm going to double click on that, and it brings it up, and I'm going to hit submit. Okay, now it's brought that picture in for me, and it looks good, right? I can resize it. And then I can decide, do I need it in the middle? Let's go ahead and move it to the middle. All right. The other thing that I need to do is I need to add alt text. A lot of people have trouble with this, and it's an easy one. So I'm going to give you the second mic special of the day, 2 for 1, right? Options. Let's select alt text, and we're going to say man watching children while offering help as a metaphor for support. So that's what it should be. How does it add to what you're trying to teach them? So then I would hit done. Now that has alt text. If I hover on that, it'll give me that little blurb. And then we're done. That's it. That's how I would chunk. And honestly, I would bring in different pieces of different sections so that I would have the ability to bring all that information together that I think is applicable. And then the students will come down here after reading the resources. Remember, we're in the discussion board right here. So this is the discussion. This is the prompt. After I give them the resources, I would then tell them, here's what I'm expecting from you, this kind of response I want to see, 250 words. Please compare and contrast your answers with other learners in the classroom. I want to see substantial posts back to other learners. All right, so that's how I would chunk. Next, we're going to talk about how do we attribute this? And that's an important discussion. See you in just a second. All right, so now we're going to talk about attribution. We've already inserted information into our classroom. Here, you see I've brought materials in, and now I need to make sure that I attribute it. So here for the LibreText, if I was going to attribute this, here you see I've got the textbook I've been working in. Here's my classroom that I'm in, and this is where I brought the material, right? Well, how do I attribute this? Is this like a normal citation? No, it's not. It's completely different, and I want to show you the intricacies of it because it's great. Like it helps everyone who's using this OER resource get back not only to the original text, but to the original author and to the original organization that sponsored this textbook. All right. So let's go ahead and we're going to close out of this. This was my Word document. You remember I used that to import the material. I will close out of this. And then let's go back into the LibreText. All right. So here, this is a web browser that I have, and this is the actual textbook I'm using. Okay. So we'll go back and we're going to sit the classroom right here that I'm working in and the web browser with my book in it right here. So how do I get the attribution? Well, there are attribution builders, and Carrie Consalvi has given those, and they are great to use. What I would do is I would go back to your text and see, what is it that I'm looking at? Do they include a citation or an attribution builder in it? Some of them do. Lucky for me, LibreText has one. So if I'm on the page here of my book and I'm on the page that I want, right? So let's say that I use chapter 5, and that was this one right here, and I go into that chapter, I can attribute it right here. It says cite this page. So if I hover over PDF, readability, and go down to cite this page, if I hover over that, it gives me 3 options. Well, I'm going to go to the second one that says get page attribution. All right. Now, this is going to give me several different things that I can choose from. The first is copy text. That seems intuitive, but that's not what you want. Being able to attribute back to the original person, organization, textbook is really about giving people links. So what we want to do is we want to go to copy HTML. Once we hit that button, things disappear and you're like, did I get it? Trust me, you did get it. So it's there. What we're going to do is we're going to go to the classroom. So we've got the HTML, it's on our clipboard, and then we're going to click on the class. We're going to move to the bottom of the page where we included the resource. And now we're going to do something where we're going to go into the HTML code. Now, I know this worries a lot of you, and I understand that worry. HTML is not easy to understand, but I'm going to give you the second Michael special for the day, and that is this. If you include something that is really noticeable, like I am right here, I'm going to put in all caps, place attribution below here. Okay. And then I'm going to switch into the HTML. Now, because I've written this all in caps, it's going to be easy to see, hopefully. So let's try it. We're going to go down here to the brackets. I'm going to click it once. And then, look at this. It brought it right up. So there's where I want to place it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my cursor right there, and I'm going to hit enter once, and then I'm going to hit Control or Command V. That's going to bring in the HTML code, and now it should be there. Let's see if it is. We're going to switch back to the brackets. We're going to click on those, and now let's go back down and see if it brought it in. No whammies, no whammies. And there it is. Look, it's got links here. So this takes me back to the textbook, it takes me back to the organization, and it takes me back to the kind of attribution that this resource has. That's exactly what I want. And that's your second Mike special. Now, the thing I want to get rid of is the thing that made me able, it gave me that ability to insert it. So I'm going to remove that. And now I've got the full attribution for this. So I'm going to move to the bottom of this page and I'm going to save it. Now let's see what that looks like. Here we go. We're in the class. Here's the prompt I built. Here's the information. And here's the attribution. That's exactly what I want. When I click on this, it's going to link me back to the material. Great job. All right. So what about the attribution, though, for OpenStax? Because that's in the classroom, right? Well, let's take a look at that next. we're on discussions right now. We're gonna move up to modules and click that once. Once we've done that and we go back to the module, you see that I remember I moved those pieces of the textbook into my module, right? So these are movable and I move them from, let's see where I move them. Let's say I want to bring this down. I brought these pieces of the textbook into my module. How do I attribute them? Well, these, because they're in Canvas, have already been attributed. So let's see where. If I click on the chapter section and I move to the very bottom of it, look at all those great graphics. It's looking good. If I move to the very bottom, there should be a section that says citation and attribution. If I click on that, it expands and it gives me all that information that I just worked to get in on the other one, right? So because they built this into Canvas, they automatically included the attribution. So I just need to check for it. It's there. I'm golden. All right, so we've done several things. First of all, we showed you how to find the OER resources. Then we showed you how to chunk them. And finally, we showed you attribution. We hope this has been helpful. If you have further questions, please feel free to schedule a consult with the instructional design team. We're here to help.